Hey guys, Dennis here with Collider Games. I'm with.
What's up, guys? It's your boy D.
Yeah, and we're back with another news video. This time we have Amazon, their long rumored gaming service. They finally kind of announced the official name. It's called Luna. I think before the top, well, I don't know if it was top secret, but the code name was Tempo. This is something we've known was coming for a while. We just didn't know when. So now they're saying that early access this October. They're sending out kind of like these beta things that you can sign up for. So what's interesting about it is that it's kind of like Game Pass and kind of
Mhm.
like Stadia. It's kind of in between. So what I mean by that is you subscribe to the service. Right now, I think it's super cheap, but it's only introductory price. I think it's like $5.99 per
Yeah.
month, which that's going to go up because what they're doing different than Google is that their library is bigger. It's not as big as Game Pass is, but it's bigger. Plus, it has bigger games on it that you can play for that, so that you're not paying uh, any additional cost. Amazon's kind of business model is actually close to their Amazon Prime model, which is you pay X amount and you get Amazon Prime every month, right? And you watch as much stuff as you want for free, quote unquote, for free for your subscription price. And then if you want additional stuff, you subscribe to other channels. So they said one of the first channels that's going to be is like Ubisoft.
Right.
And so you subscribe to that one for X amount of dollars per month, and you get I'm sure they'll probably have an EA one, they'll have a whatever, and then you subscribe to those different channels that give you access to all their library and whatever they choose to put in that quote unquote library. I'm pretty sure not like a lot of day one stuff, but it is using kind of the cloud computing where you're using your controller, and then I can't remember if it's Fire TV or which app you're using or which
I believe you can use any like your it's Fire TV, PC, and Mac,
yeah,
and
yeah,
through iOS. And
as
then they
well.
say Android is coming soon. Android always gets so and anytime somebody's creating something, they always have Apple in mind first, and then Android gets the leftovers.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about this. I'm not gonna lie. Like at first, like we said, this has been a rumor thing for a while now. What
Mhm.
really didn't have any like too much hype or like wasn't like dying to get this or anything like that. Especially after we saw like what's been happening with Google Stadia and nothing really
Mhm.
like has come about that. Nothing really hot from that. So I'm like, But once I actually like read the full press release and seeing how they're incorporating, like you said, how they're doing Amazon Prime because I'm an Amazon Prime member and I feel like those like on the Fire TV or anything like that, those subscriptions, seeing those on your feed makes it so much more convenient. Like
Yeah.
at going through like having HBO, all that inside of one hub instead of having to like go out and try to do all those different type of things. So I think this will make it much more convenient if they're going to be like if Ubisoft is just the beginning, if they can pick up other big studios to
Mhm.
jump on this Game Pass as well. I'm pretty excited because if you're I did not expect Ubisoft to be one of the first, especially like they're saying like once those titles are out like Assassin's Creed Valhalla and things like that. You can play those from there once it's on the title. So I'm excited for it. I think this is a great price, $5.99. Like we said, it's gonna definitely change and expand
Yeah.
as soon as like this starts to blow up. But it seems like they really have a set plan for this moving forward. And another thing I'm excited about is how they're going to. It seems like they're going to Twitch and Amazon have already had a good relationship in terms of gaming, in terms of like synergy between each other. But now it seems like they're diving more into that, and it's going to make it more accessible for people. If you just have a regular Fire TV and you want to watch, you can watch Twitch from like there's apps and stuff like that. But I feel like this is going to make it a lot more convenient, a lot more
Mhm.
easier access to push some of these Twitch streamers to the forefront on people's regular TV that might have not happened before. So I don't know. I think this is a good move.
Yeah, definitely. It seems the technology is much more like Google Stadia, where it's streaming to you. They're saying right now they're capping it at 1080p and 60 FPS, even though in the future they want to do 4K and 60 FPS. But we got limitations of internet technology right now, and so you have the accessibility of Google like the Google technology. It's their own Amazon technology using their own cloud services, but what they're doing is they're doing the pricing model that Microsoft is doing with Game Pass, where it's like a subscription and then you get access to all these games instead of buying one. That's the problem with Google Stadia right now. There's no the only inherent advantage is not buying a console. That's it. And so if you already have a console, there's really no real reason to jump to Google Stadia. Where with the Amazon stuff, it's like, okay, now it's something, hypothetically, Microsoft Game Pass could be on Amazon Luna. You know what I
You
mean?
never know.
I know they're kind of rivals in the cloud computing area, and Microsoft's doing their own kind of cloud gaming with xCloud, and I think that's kind of the future of what Game Pass is going to be, where eventually, not this generation or the next generation, but maybe in, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 years, 10 years from now, maybe it's all going to be cloud gaming, and we won't have to buy any consoles anymore, depending on whatever. You just subscribe to a subscription service. But anyways, with Amazon's, I feel like when I heard about it, I wasn't that enthused way back in the day, because like, oh, another one. Because remember, Apple has their own, the Apple Arcade, which is really like casual, like kid games type stuff. And then Google Stadia had the not only people reporting kind of technology issues, they weren't getting, consistent streams, but also just the pricing model. And this one, if they can get consistent streaming down, I think this is the right model. I don't know if Amazon is the one that's going to be able to do it. I mean, they've got a few, like Control is on this library, A Plague Innocence that I want to play, Resident Evil. There's some big games on here, like Valhalla, I think. They mentioned was probably going to be on day one. So they do have some big stuff. It's not as comprehensive as Microsoft. And then, as we know, we just talked about it earlier this week about Microsoft buying Bethesda and all those games being their library plus the new game's going to be on Game Pass day one. It's hard to compete against that in terms of library. Even Sony won't even do that. Like Sony's first-party game exclusives still won't be on their PS Plus network until like later. They won't be day one releases. So I don't know. This is something that I definitely want to keep my eye on, and I think is much more potential than Google Stadia.
Yeah, and I before we wrap up, I do want to touch on, like you kind of talked about a little bit, but I think with this potentially, I could see Game Pass or Xbox being like, hey, let's put it on there just until, like you said, until the next gen, until they're ready to launch their own cloud-based thing, and then like they can take it off, like how these Netflix shows or something, whenever the contracts are up, they'll just take it back. I could see them doing something like that, because in my opinion, I feel like Amazon, and just Amazon in general, when it comes to customer service, is more accessible to the mainstream, to the general audience, versus Microsoft or xCloud or Game Pass or anything like that. I feel like if you can market, if I'm Xbox, I would definitely try to like put it on there, just so people like people that don't have a PC, people that don't have a console, they can still play those games through their mobile, through their Mac, through their PC, or like their other laptops. So I think it's a great move, and I think it is definitely more accessible to the average consumer. Especially, I definitely there's nothing in the press release or anything, but I definitely see them doing a bundle deal like with Amazon Prime or something like that. So if you already have a Prime membership, which a lot of people already do, whether they know it or not, they might have probably accidentally signed up for, because that they get you sometimes. But I think I feel like there's a lot more people that already have Prime, so it'll be easier for them to kind of market it and kind of get it already out there to the average consumer and be like, hey, you want free games? We already got free delivery. Come get some free games for only $2 more. So we'll see.
Exactly.
I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. Like for me, who does have Amazon Prime, both for the deliveries and for their actual streaming service, if you tell me this thing's an extra $2-3 a month, I might just do it. I mean, $6 is still a pretty good price. Maybe if I hadn't already bought and finished Control, you know what I mean, I'd be like, oh, cool. But Assassin's Creed Valhalla, that Plague's Innocence, some Resident Evil, there's some decent games on here. And so, on a side note, when I talk about Microsoft, they don't care where Game Pass is. So I think them putting on Amazon Luna, I think they'd be fine with it. It's more of whether an Amazon wants to. I mean, to be frank, Microsoft would put Game Pass on PlayStation if they could. If PlayStation allowed it, they'd stick it on there. They won't do that because it's too good of a deal, and it'll draw money away from like PlayStation stuff. But Microsoft, they put it on there, you know, I don't think they want to put the individual games for 50, $60, but if they can get
Right.
someone to subscribe to Game Pass through whether it's PlayStation, Nintendo, whatever, I mean, that's the whole point of xCloud anyway. So I think we're going to see a big battle in this upcoming cloud gaming service thing. I think that's going to be the next thing where it's going to be, and people have to remember Microsoft and Amazon have their own cloud servers, and that's why they can do these things
Mhm.
much easier than before. I think Google has their own as well. Or actually, hold on, let me see this. No, yeah. So one interesting note before we go: the controller is $50, which is a little expensive. But what they're doing with the controller is that instead of the controller sending information to your device, the control is actually going through Wi-Fi and going to the servers. So it's like shaves off a few milliseconds of latency. So it's a little bit quicker. So it's going directly to the cloud server versus going to your device and then going to the
And
server.
I think I also read like about the controller and just in general that'll of course be all connected to Alexa. So
Mm.
that I'm just excited for it. It's going to turn into where we got Alexa over here and be like, Alexa, turn on Luna real quick so I can play this game. Like
Mm.
all voice control. Like it, we're really turning into a Black Mirror episode right now. Like just how far gaming is coming and how far
Well,
technology is going along the way. So I'm pumped, but I'm
we're already living in a Black Mirror episode. If you've looked at what's going on in the world right now,
true. That
so
is true.
yeah. So all right, Doran, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Dorian Parks and Rec. You can find me on Instagram at Dorian Parks, and you can find me right here at Collider Games.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Collider Games. We have a podcast feed. That's the Collider Factory feed where we have our podcast every single week. We'll have one tomorrow. We'll talk about this. We'll talk more about the Microsoft Bethesda deal and what's going to be exclusives, what's not going to be, and then a whole bunch of other stuff. So until next time, see you guys later.